Hey everybody, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on. I know there's a lot of folks that are talking about this stuff. So let's get right down to it. So back in around 7 months ago, there was a gentleman that used to appear on the Alex Jones show. His name was Greg Reese. He's since gone away, but 7 months ago, he put this video out. Now, let me preface this. I don't hate Jews. I don't hate anybody, right? I disagree with governments, and governments annoy the piss out of me. And there's a lot of government intervention happening right now. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about governments. We're not talking about religions yet, right? Maybe someday we will. So I generally call this Truman's Town Hall, and that's what it is today. So I'm going to play this video of Greg Reese. This was about 7 months ago, and he put this out. Let me find it here. Boom, there it is. Check it out.
Trump has chosen Big Pharma's Susie Wiles for chief of staff, and she appears to be Trump's handler.
In charge of Trump's campaign and his PAC, arguably his closest advisor. When I asked my friends who are close to Trump, they say you don't get a meeting without Trump unless she's in the room. You don't get a phone call unless she's in the room. She's omnipresent.
Elon Musk has been exposed by several reporters to be a fraud and a government frontman. Nobody has ever debunked this. And now we are told that he will be fixing the government.
I mean, my top recommendation, honestly, would be just to have a carbon tax.
That seems so reasonable.
Yeah, I agree. There's just one thing that will matter. Put a price on carbon.
That would be the best option.
For sure.
That seems like it'd be such a good idea.
So far, the cabinet picks are painting a clear picture of where this is all heading. For UN Ambassador Elise Stefanik, who has received $917,000 from the Israel lobby.
Today, this means crushing anti-Semitism at home and supplying the state of Israel with what it needs, when it needs it, without conditions to achieve total victory in the face of evil.
For Secretary of State, Senator Marco Rubio, who has received $1 million from the Israel lobby.
Senator Rubio, will you call for ceasefire?
No, I will not.
Gaza?
On the contrary.
Senator Rubio,
are you filming it?
Wait,
So I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas should stop building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
For the EPA, Lee Zeldin, who has received $916,000 from the Israel lobby.
You should not be coddling the largest state sponsor of terrorism, who calls the United States the great Satan. They call Israel the little Satan. They chant death to America. They develop intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, intercontinental. That's not meant for Israel. That's meant for us.
For National Security Advisor, Representative Mike Waltz, who has received $235,000 from the Israel lobby.
I think at this point, the only thing that is going to stop the supreme leader from his nuclear obsession is a very credible use and threat of military force.
For the Secretary of Homeland Security, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, who serves to ensure the security of God's chosen people and who signed a bill to conflate criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. For the U.S. Ambassador to Israel, former Governor Mike Huckabee, who says Palestinians don't exist.
What happens next? It's about the end times. And quite frankly, some of us think we may just be living in them. So, Max Lucado, so good to see you. Thanks for joining us, and welcome as we talk about the end of the world.
Well, Governor, I wouldn't be anywhere else. I'm supremely honored to have these moments with you. And yes, I do believe we're not just in the end times. We're in the end of the end times. It's moving fast.
For the CIA, John Ratcliffe.
What Israel has done is essentially employ the Trump doctrine, a maximum pressure campaign, understanding that the only way to deter terrorists like Iran and their proxies is to put your foot on their throat. And Israel has done that. We should be assisting Israel in doing so.
For Secretary of Defense, Fox News personality Pete Hegseth.
Anyone that wants to take the stage and talk about dual loyalty is dead wrong. What this organization represents, what Western civilization represents today, is an understanding that Zionism and Americanism are the front lines of Western civilization and freedom in our world today.
For the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, who has received $460,000 from the Israel lobby.
Not responding is not an option either. I mean, you have the animating force behind the evil in that region is Iran.
And for U.S. President Donald Trump, who received $100 million from Zionist Miriam Adelson.
Iran is not there for us. They want to kill us. And the Palestinians are taught to kill us at 2 years old.
The Palestinians want to come and get you. I mean, it's just absurd, the things that Giuliani said at that rally at Madison Square Garden. But it manifests an ideology which Donald Trump embraces, that the Palestinians should be destroyed and the United States should pay for their destruction.
Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
So that was a report by Greg Reese over on InfoWars. Greg Reese is no longer with InfoWars. That was one of his last reports about 7 months ago. I just wanted to share that because that was something that came up a while ago. I wonder what everybody else thinks out there. So I'm going to pull up my X feed because we are broadcasting live over on X. I'm going to play this for you guys. This happened today, and I watched it live on Face the Nation, CBS. Something I've always done is I watch Sunday morning on CBS. Today, they actually played a report about The Doors, one of my favorite bands.
Open
but anyway.
to intelligence and persuasion here.
I'm open as well. But look, in the first Iraq war, the second Iraq war, and the war in Afghanistan, Congress first got the briefings. Congress met and debated. It should have been declarations of war, but at least they did an authorization of use of military force. We haven't had that. This has been turned upside down, this process.
Well, you heard from Mitch McConnell, the former Republican leader, the senator, say it was a bad week for the isolationists. He was talking about Tucker Carlson and he was talking about Steve Bannon. Do you think that the president is making a choice here, or is he trying to have it both ways? Both saying, I'm going to please the hawks of the party by bombing, but then I'm going to say I want a peace deal and make the isolationists happy by saying, you know, I'm not committing to anything more than one and done.
Well, I'll concede this. It was a good week for the neocons in the military-industrial complex who want war all the time. I wouldn't call my side of the MAGA base isolationists. We are exhausted. We are tired from all of these wars, and we're non-interventionists. I mean, this was one of the promises. I mean, are you going to call President Trump's campaign an isolationist campaign? What he promised us was we would put America first. And I think there are still voices in this administration. You've still got J.D. Vance. You've still got Tulsi Gabbard. You still, RFK Jr., you still got calmer heads that could prevail.
They were not persuasive in this case, clearly.
No.
Well, somebody was persuasive.
No,
AIPAC is very persuasive. For instance, the Israeli lobby in Congress. If you look at my colleagues' feeds now, they all look the same. They're all tweeting the same message that we've got to support Israel and we've got to do this. My question is, does 3 bombings and we're done with Iran's nuclear ambitions? Is that the 2 weeks to slow the spread of 2025? Is this, we were told 2 weeks to slow the spread then. Now we're told it's just going to take 3 bombings. But what happens when Israel gets bombed again? Is Trump going to sit by and say, no, we're not going to further engage in this war?
I tried to get answers from the secretary on that question. But when you say the pro-Israel lobby, AIPAC, do you see a difference between Israel's interests and American interests?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, Iran, the reality is they don't have a missile that can reach the United States. They're not near to getting a missile that can reach the United States. I think this, what has happened, what has transpired this week has been planned for months. This administration and maybe even the administration prior to that said, you go in and soften them up, take out their air defense capabilities, and then we'll send in the big bombers.
So,
all right. So there's that, guys. There's a couple of videos, right? A couple of videos that have been circulating the interwebs. You have Israel, Iran. Who's Iran's allies, so to speak? You have Russia, you have Pakistan, you have North Korea, Venezuela, Belarus, China, right? Our economic enemy at this point. So what happens now? I think what happens now is when you have a lot of influence that speaks of one side, the background I have now, we're going to see a lot of that. And I put this background up way before Israel was involved in this Iran and Israel backing, right? Oh, Lord have mercy. Trump just tweeted something about Massey. Let's try to bring that up real quick. I'm going to have to probably run down the X feed and look and see. Oh, here's something. Should the U.S. get involved in Israel's war against Iran? Charlie Kirk posted this, and the Hodge twins reminded him about that. No, 90% from him. Laura Loomer posted this a while back. Today, Nikki Haley went on CNBC and called for the U.S. to bomb Iran. Nikki Haley wants more war in the Middle East, which means more dead U.S. soldiers. The only person who has proven that he won't create more wars is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the pro-peace candidate. That's what I thought, right? That's what we all thought. I voted for Donald Trump in 2016. I voted for Donald Trump in 2020. I voted for him in 2024. I voted for him 3 doggone times because I thought he was different than the rest of the politicians. Now he's proving us that he's not. Trump put this out on True Social. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't it be a regime change? MAGA. Now, there was a lot of folks posting MAGA last night, make Israel great again. I'm guessing Trump put this out because he wanted to change the narrative of MAGA from, which is a horrible acronym, by the way. It's too close to the other word that we're not supposed to use. But anyway, he wants to change the narrative to make Israel great again, to make Iran great again. I think that's why he did that. This kid, Nick Fuentes, he's pretty doggone. He's pretty good. Let's listen to him.
Should be furious and outraged and standing up in one voice and saying, we do not want a war in Iran, which is what we have, by the way, in case you missed the headlines. Some people are a little confused on this. But because it's Trump, because he is a Trojan horse, and I always said that was the worst effect. Better than Kamala? Certainly. Better domestic agenda? Marginally. But what makes him so dangerous is that he will take his entire base with him to support this war and deflate what could have been, what would have been an anti-war consensus and an awakening of a national consciousness against the influence of Israel, which brought us here. Instead, I see people on Twitter like Charlie Kirk and Matt Gaetz and Jack Posobiec and all the dissidents saying, well, you know, if we stop here, it's not really a war. They're saying, I don't think Trump wants a war in Iran. I don't think he wants a big, wide war in Iran. Hey, guess what? We're in a war with Iran. What else would you call this? We just bombed them. We just dropped 6 conventional bombs weighing 30,000 pounds that are nearly the size of a very small nuclear bomb on Iran's nuclear program. And this after we supported Israel's surprise attack, murdering their scientists, murdering their commanders, blowing up their airports, their capital, everything. And people say, if we go to war, I don't think Trump wants a war. We're in that war. And isn't it miraculous how that position has changed every single day over the past week and a half? 2 weeks ago, before the clouds came rolling in over the Middle East, they said no new wars. Trump will keep us out, they said. He's negotiating. Trump is going to make a deal with Iran. He's going to bend the Israelis over. That's what people were saying. They said that Trump and Netanyahu had a split. They broke up. Trump and Pete Hegseth aren't visiting Israel on his multi-stop visit to the Arabian Peninsula. They said Trump made peace with the Houthis without even notifying Israel. He's negotiating with Hamas to free an American captive. The rhetoric, they said, the rhetoric is so good, said Kurt Mills. Kurt Mills, the genius who said just trust Steve Witkoff and trust Trump because of their rhetoric, their framing of the issue. Idiot, dummy, fool, hello. You might be a nerd, but you're not smart. That was the first position. No.
So that was Nick Fuentes. I don't agree with everybody 100% of the time, right? Who does? Who should? There's a lot of people out there that agree with Trump 100% of the time. You call those people sycophants, right? I think we do. I think we call them sycophants. We used to. Anywho, let's check out Alex Jones. What did Alex Jones have to say today before he did his broadcast?
Predicted if President Trump struck Iran's nuclear sites, Iran's parliament has now voted to close the Strait of Hormuz. Then I see all the military geniuses in the comments saying they can't do that. It's been assessed by the Pentagon. It's very easy for them to do. I don't know if they'll be overridden by the supreme leader, but that's where we are. But now the big news. Top Russian minister Medvedev came out and said a whole string of countries that are nuclear powers are looking to give nukes to Iran so that Israel and the United States cannot continue to attack it. And people say, well, we'll just nuke them too. That's called mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah.
That's why the U.S. hasn't attacked North Korea. Do I like North Korea? No. Do I like the mullahs? No. The point is, this is military doctrine. It's why past administrations and the Pentagon currently advise Trump not to do this, but General Kurilla and Hegseth convinced him otherwise. I like Hegseth. I like the other head of CENTCOM. I'm allowed as an American to disagree with that and point out, as Steve Bannon and many other geopolitical experts warned President Trump this would escalate out of control. We have the Pope saying this is pushing the world to the edge of Armageddon. And now we have Medvedev coming out a few hours ago and saying he's talked to other leaders, didn't name them, that are looking to give nukes to them. We have all these Chinese cargo planes landing by the hundreds. You've got North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, their dictator, saying he's looking to give them nukes so there can be peace. This is all escalating out of control. Pakistan has talked about coming to their aid. They're a nuclear power. This is escalating so incredibly fast. This doesn't end the war because now Israel can say, oh, well, they don't have nukes anymore or have the material for them, so now we're going to stop. No, Israel wants regime change. And Trump is being maneuvered into this entire thing. And there's so many other angles to this as well. There's been a long-term Pentagon/Israeli plan for 20 plus years to take over 7 countries in the Middle East. Iran is the last one, and it's the big domino. And that's what all the other countries understand are lining up against us right now. But bare minimum, oil prices are already going up without the Strait of Hormuz being blocked. That's causing big problems to Trump's recovery plan with inflation, interest rates, and more. So I'll continue to follow reports on this. I'll be live in studio 4 p.m. Central today with all the documents, all the information, and so much more. I'll continue to follow reports right here on X at Real Alex Show. So please follow me here and please pray for peace. I support President Trump in his overall agenda. I have voted for him to be a peacemaker.
Yep, I did too. I voted for him. I'm going to bring up Wesley Clark here in a minute, but oh, that was kind of funny. I'm old enough to remember the original Operation Midnight Hammer. Mike Benz. Let's listen to Mike Benz. We'll listen to him for a minute, and then we'll bring up Wesley Clark, what he said a few years ago.
It's been an obsession of mine all week. I've been meaning to make this video all week, and I just saw Fox News reference it last night. So let me give you the proper treatment. We're going to go through this scene by scene. We're going to do a movie watch chronologically through the movie. And as you watch these scenes, remember that the whole plot is to use bunker buster bombs using stealth bombers through the mountainous region of a Middle East country in order to blow up its nuclear plant. Here's what the final scene looks like at the climax of the film, for example. Now, something troubled me when this movie first came out, and I'm just going to play this scene. It's at the 19-minute mark of the movie where they're setting out the whole plot of why they're doing this operation.
The target is an unsanctioned uranium enrichment plant built in violation of a multilateral NATO treaty. The uranium produced there represents a direct threat to our allies in the region.
Now, when I first watched this on an airplane in 2022 as just something to do to kill time, I thought that was a very strange plot choice because this whole operation to use bunker buster bombs and risk American lives to blow up a nuclear plant in the Middle East was because the nuclear plant represented a direct threat to our allies. Like, the military generals did not even say it was a threat to the United States. The operation was because the plant was a threat to our allies.
The uranium produced there represents a direct threat to our allies in the region.
So again, the plot of the movie is because the nuclear plant in the mountains of an undisclosed Middle East country
I haven't been on Truman Town Hall in a while, so I'm not unmuting myself. Anyway, Mike Benz made a good point with the movie Top Gun Maverick. I went and watched it at the theater. It was pretty great. And it was closely after everybody started filling back in the movie theaters after the so-called epidemic, right? Everybody came back and Tom Cruise came on the screen, right? And he said, if you went to the movies to see this Top Gun Maverick, you would know. Tom Cruise came back on, hey, thanks for coming back to the movies. But I thought that was the coolest thing ever, right? But and I love movies. But he equated this to that. A lot of times Hollywood kind of, well, yeah, who do they work with? Anyway, I'm going to bring up Wesley Clark. Talking about the 7 countries. He did this a long, long time ago. And he's not He's not one of us. He's not a conservative. He's not a Republican. He's not a right winger. He's not none of that. He's a left guy. And this is what he said when Bush went to war. So let's check that out right about, I don't know, in a second. Here it is.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Yeah. And as you saw right there, that was Wesley Clark on Democracy Now! Has anybody watched that? That's not necessarily a conservative program. I'll bring this news story up. This is something folks are talking about as well. Many nations ready to supply Iran with their nuclear warheads. Top Putin aide, Mr. Aragachi, has said that he will have serious consultations with the Russian leader hours after the United States entered the Iran-Israel conflict by striking 3 Iranian nuclear sites. And as we're talking right now, right, you could read that article if you want. I think that's something that may end up happening. I hope not. And, it could be posturing, like a lot of things are a posture. I think Trump's doing a lot of posturing. I think he's trying to appease all in one presidency, but you can't appease everybody. We voted for a peace president, and we're not necessarily getting that. So what happens now? We struck Iran, and if Iran or a proxy strikes us somewhere in the Middle East, or, how many Iranians entered the border under Biden? How many? Upwards of like almost 2,000, at least 1,000 Iranian nationals entered. How many of those are people that actually want to escape Iran? Could be a few, could be a lot. Who knows? I think what we do know is that there are many people around the world that would love to see the United States burn. There's a lot of people around the world. So we have to do peace through strength. But that strength doesn't necessarily mean we have to bomb countries that Israel wants us to bomb. Anywho, let's go scan the X feed a little bit, because there's some great videos I posted over there, and I want to share them all with a lot of folks. Let's see here. Oh, this is great. This is the video I was just thinking about. I wanted to find. This is a fella talking about what Israel is. So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of Christians in America, pastors and whoever, that say that the current Israel is the Israel from the Bible. I don't believe that. And we've done discussions on here with a lot of different folks. Some of the folks believed it, some don't. We usually come on Sunday at about 8:45 and do a Bible study, and that's where it takes place. But let me start this all the way over.
That many of the Jewish people in AD 70, they saw it as the exact fulfillment to the words of Christ, and they realized in that moment, oh my goodness, he was right. We crucified our Messiah. And they actually got out. Many were destroyed and died in Jerusalem who did not believe. They stayed thinking, oh, we'll make it. God will defend us. They stayed and they were conquered and they died. But the ones who escaped, they escaped because they saw it as a fulfillment to Christ's words, and they believed, they heard and believed his words. And they said, whoa, this is what Jesus said would happen before us. This generation passed away. He actually was the Messiah, and we should believe in him, salvation. So they became Christians, and also we should practically obey him by getting out of Dodge. And so the Jews who lived were the Jews who became Christians. They converted to Christianity. They believed the words of Jesus, and they fled. They escaped from that desolation in AD 70, and they mingled. Therefore, they no longer have a nation state, which means they're now refugees in other places. They committed themselves, this is the logical conclusion, committed themselves to the apostolic teaching of the New Testament that says it is not about one who is a Jew outwardly of the flesh, but inwardly, not circumcision of the flesh, but circumcision of the heart. So they no longer put stock in their Jewishness, according to the flesh, believed that Jesus was the Messiah, converted to Christianity, escaped the judgment. All the ones who didn't have this heart change stayed and died in the judgment. And so now these guys, they're Christians, they're alive, and they're not putting stock in the flesh anymore, and they don't have a nation state to mingle in anymore. So they're dispersed, a dispersion among all these other Gentile countries, and they likely, logically, intermarried with them. And so who are the physical Jews today? Here it is. Nobody. Nobody. There are Palestinians.
I disagree with that.
They swabbed 2,000-year-old catacombs underneath Israel. And there are Palestinians that actually match up more than Ashkenazi Jews. And there are people who argue for the black Hebrew Israelites, and people who argue, well, the Caucasians, because they dispersed them above the Caucasus Mountain. Here, I love all those views. You know why I love them? Not because I believe them. I love all those views because I love every time somebody comes to me and says, white people are actually the physical descendants. Black people are the descendants. Palestinians are the descendants. Ashkenazi Jews are the descendants. Or here's an alternative. Titus destroyed the temple. The birth records were literally kept in the temple so that God in his providence saw fit that no one would be able to prove who actually was a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why? Because it doesn't matter. Because now what matters is faith in Christ. Faith in Christ.
There it is. Faith in Christ. I think that's what truly matters. But I don't know. I don't know anymore. There's a lot of folks that, did Christ want war? No, I don't think he did. Does Christ want his people warring against each other? No, I don't. That's why I'm against this war. I was a young man once. I was a young man watching the Fox News. I was a young man listening to Sean Hannity. I was a young man doing all that. I saw Pat Tillman go from a $9 million NFL contract to signing up. I signed up. I went overseas and did all that. I chose to be a medic because I wanted to help people. I still at least had that. I don't know. Because peace, man. What the hell's wrong with peace? Nothing. Nothing's wrong with peace. Good night. All right, let's see here. Let's see what else we got. Let's play this. Trump gave us 2 weeks, and I thought, okay, that's pretty doggone smart. 2 weeks. Okay, yeah. Give the American people some time to 2 weeks, and then the next day, boom, 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 boom. It was a feint. It's a military strategy. That's fine. Okay. And Trump and that administration, they have a lot more intel than I do, than any of us do. Don't they? They do. They may know something we don't. We can't take that off the table. But at the end of the day, I want peace. Let's play this fun video. Where did it go? There it is.
See him being swayed. The isolationists think, somebody's doing this, the interventionists say the other thing. But my guess is that he listens to everybody, and then he does what he does. He goes with his gut. It's kind of how you saw him adjust to the deportations, goes all in, and then he lifts pressure in certain industries. There's no shame in that. So I think he's not under the spell of anybody. I'm hopeful that he does the right thing and that he knows what he's doing and that he's finding a path that isn't necessarily the paths that we keep hearing about. I mean, how do we get rid of Iran without putting boots on the ground? Does anybody know? Nobody seems to care about what's next. Including Jesse. He doesn't care.
I just care that you're okay on your vacation. A week in Iran is dangerous, Greg.
I know.
I don't know why you booked that.
That's why I'm dressed as the Ayatollah.
Yeah, good timing on that one, Greg. Jesse, Trump, to Greg's point, he goes with his gut and he knows what to do and when to do it. And sometimes that gut is last minute. He said, we're going to give this 2-week negotiation period. He said today, maybe the strike on Fordo won't be necessary, but he often will make that call in the moment. I remember 2019, there were jets in the air ready to strike Iran. And then he pulled back because it wasn't the moment. He knows what to do and he's going to do it when the time's right.
Yeah, he's like the guy that hands in the term paper at the last second. But he likes the pressure of
This
it.
is the part I wanted
has
y'all
these
to hear.
self-imposed deadlines, and I think it makes him think better. But the 2-week deal is smart because it gives you more military options. You can bring in another carrier to the region, and then you can also let Israel really soften up Iran. I mean, they could hit more targets. They could hit electrical transmission sites around Fordo. They could assassinate more commanders. And
All right, there's that. Assassinate more commanders. Just like that, I guess. I mean, today, is it me or is today are we just human life doesn't really mean nothing. So, they're trying to kill you, so I read this. I read that, and there's in the Old Testament, there's eye for an eye, all that. And then in the New Testament, there's turn the other cheek. So there's going to be all kinds of biblical scholars that'll say, oh, here's what this means, here's what that means. And then they'll look it up and I don't know, Ezekiel, and then they'll go over to Romans, and then they'll hit Peter, and then they'll go over, they make up whatever they want to make up, and they use this book. They can flip pages and use the book to illustrate whatever they want to believe. That's the world we're living in. The little man, like you and I, we don't really have a say. Our say is this: hey, we don't want war. We're going to vote for the guy who says he's going to bring peace, who said, hey, if I was president, Russia would never invade it, right? Kamala would have done the same thing. She would have probably, my summation, who knows? She would have done it before Trump did. I think Trump held back a little bit and then went all in because he had pressure from the inside, from other folks. He knows what's going down. He knows what happened in the future or in the past. He's got to survive too, just like all of us. There's something else on here. Let's see what else I brought up. Oh yeah, Tucker Carlson. Let's bring old Tucker up. I like Tucker. I'm a subscriber. And when Trump came after Tucker, I was a little upset. Now he's going after Massey and all those libertarian Republicans who I kind of align with. Like, I'm kind of right there, but I don't know. Let's check this out.
So what about the story that you hear endlessly that Iran is planning to nuke the United States if that's on their agenda?
Huh?
Yeah, right.
Huh?
So you consider that like insane?
I consider that so bewildering. If a grown-up says that, we need to have a long heart talk
Yeah.
about a lot of facts.
So what about the story that you hear endlessly that Iran is planning to nuke the United States, if that's on their agenda?
Huh?
Yeah, right.
Huh?
So
All right. We're not going to play that again and again and again, but you get the gist. You probably have watched that Tucker Carlson interview with Jeffrey Sachs. And you probably watched the Ted Cruz interview. That I listened to that one. Ted Cruz made some good points. Can't deny it. And they got along there for a minute, and then all hell broke loose. And I'm not a fan of the neocons, guys. I used to be. Doggone it. When I was a young dude and before I actually went in the military, I believed all those guys. I really did. And when they were going after John Kerry and remember the Swift boat thing, and Sean Hannity never served a day in his life. He talks for a living. So does Mark Levin. So does Charlie Kirk. So does all Ben Shapiro. So do all. They just talk for a living. They've never put their ass on the line to get after it. No, none of them have. But they'll tell you, hey, we're fighting for freedom. Okay. We know what you're fighting for. All right. Let's end this by just going through some of the other videos that I posted, and then we'll check out. Yeah, Pope posted the Pope. Sarah Adams, she's really good. But I tend to think
the place I have an issue with China is I do think China is going to find a way to use the terrorists as proxies, but the place I'm most concerned about is, you talked about the lithium, but there's uranium mines too. So at least the uranium mines in like two of the provinces in the south are essentially owned and run by China. So China's in them. Al Qaeda is in them. And IRGC is there trying to help Al Qaeda basically use uranium, not exactly like you would use it for nuclear power, maybe like the dirty bomb or something. So China, Iran, and Al Qaeda are basically in the same building, right? So think of that as they innovate on that and grow. If we go to war with China, I do think China will likely wait and use the terrorists as a proxy against us. The place I have an issue with China is I do think China is going to find a way to use the terrorists as proxy.
We're in the proxy war era. We use Ukraine as a proxy to fight Russia. We use Israel as a proxy against Iran until Israel says, "Hey, Daddy, can you help us out?" And then we help them out. And her book, Know Thy Enemy, that when I saw that, I was like, interesting. Because prior to going overseas, I didn't know where I was going, honestly. I could have been going to Iraq or Afghanistan or whatever. But I read the Quran, and I had this, I took a piece of notebook paper and I wrote, Know Thy Enemy, and taped it all up and made a bookmark out of it and put it in there and I read it. I read the Quran. I've read the Bible. I've read the Quran. I haven't read the Torah. I never really got into the Jewish religion. I did read a little bit of the Book of Mormon. I've studied religion. I've studied history. I'm more proficient in Mesoamerican history because I lived down in Texas and went to college in Texas and did Texas history. So I was a history major. So I'm more associated with Mesoamerican history and U.S. history than I am most any other history. But anywho, all right. See if we got anything else. If we don't, we'll bounce. And you guys can have a great night. I appreciate you guys watching. All the folks watching tonight. Thank you. And those watching later. All this stuff's important. Oh, here's Ted Cruz. We talked about Ted Cruz and Tucker. Let's see. Come on. Oh, yeah. So that's just a kind of like a picture from Texas Patriot. Does he live in Texas? We don't know. She? I don't know. Name one thing Israel has ever done for America. Please. I want somebody to write in the comments. I always hear that Israel, and I don't hate the Israeli people. I don't hate Jews. I got to reiterate that, because everybody's saying, if you're against us helping Israel, then you're an anti-Semite. You're this, you're that. If you're against what Trump does, guess what? Guess what you are? You're a Trump hater. You're not MAGA anymore. You're kicked out. Says cat turd in the litter army, or what, the litter box mates, or you can't make this shit up. Anyway, name one thing Israel's done, please, in the comments. Tell us, because I believe it's a lopsided relationship. We're their best ally. We've done everything for them. Because when I was in Afghanistan, I worked with the Germans. I worked with the Swedes. I saw the Croatians dive in a ditch when we were in a firefight. I've worked with a lot of different NATO guys, but I never saw Israel over there in Afghanistan. Never did. What has Israel done for us? Please. Oh, they share intelligence. Do they really? I don't know. Okay. We'll keep going. Oh, drop the peaceful. That was kind of funny. This is Luke Radowski talking about Iran. Here's something I posted. China, Russia, North Korea, Pakistan, Belarus, and Venezuela all signed some type of strategic partnership agreement with Iran. They have. Somebody tried to tell me the other day, no, they haven't done that. They have not done that. This guy's, he's kind of neat. Let's hear what he has to say.
Pound bunker busters. And Trump says, now is the time for peace, because you can evidently beat your wife and make her love you, I guess. That's what we're going with here. Yeah, because you just blew up all their shit, and now it's time for peace. But of course, Benjamin Netanyahu and all the neocons, as we just saw, now it's fucking, they're going to move that goalpost, and it's going to be regime change. Trump is supposed to address the nation at 10 o'clock. I'm already so fucking disappointed. Like,
I'll watch that
I
address.
don't even know what to say. Because
Short.
it was supposed to be, shut
Let's bring
the
it
fuck
up.
up.
Wow,
It's
he
supposed to
says
be
a lot of
America
F-bombs.
first. You know, what were we mad about? Us spending our fucking treasure in Ukraine in some proxy war. Okay, we couldn't even shut that down, and now we're starting another one? That doesn't fucking make any fucking sense. That doesn't put America first. Iran's no threat to America. This is Israel's war. This is what Israel wanted. And as Tucker showed us, dude, too many people in our government have been bought off by AIPAC. Yeah, straight up. And like, now this is what we get. Like, our country is fucking falling apart. All the major cities are fucking no-go zones. The homeless, the drug addicts, the fucking crime. Like, I don't go to the fucking any major cities. The places are fucking shit show. It's a fucking shit show. They look like shit. Look at every other major city. Go look at Japan, dude. Their cities, fucking beautiful, spotless, clean, high-tech. Our cities falling the fuck apart because all of our money has to get spent on
Hey, sorry about all the F-bombs, y'all. That was a lot. I mean, hey, people dig it. Let me pull something else up. Let's pull up the Trump speech. Let's listen to that. And then we'll end this broadcast. And I'll get better at this. It's just I'm rusty. I used to put out a whole bunch. I mean, I was putting out stuff prior to the Russia, Ukraine stuff. I was telling everybody, it's coming. That's coming. I've been paying attention, folks. I know I'm just some idiot in Ohio, but doggone. Can't we all just get along? We can't. You know why we can't? Because we have people that have pissing contests. Close it.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective
man
was the
there.
destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror.
The
Tonight,
two
I
on
can
our
report
right,
to the world
they
that
won
the
today.
strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
There it is. Trump's address. That's what we're going to end with. Or remember when Trump ran the first time at the Republican convention and Clint Eastwood came out and he talked to the empty chair that was supposed to be Obama. We got Trump in the background. See, hey, MAGA, do y'all have a cutout of Trump in your house? No, I bet you doggone don't. But I do. I got a cutout of Trump that I usually put on the broadcast during our Sunday night lives. Anyway, Trump. A lot of these folks, they don't want to go to war, man. So don't be putting boots on the ground. Don't get Americans killed, bro. Not like the other guys. You know this. We voted for you. We lost family and friends for you, man. So we could have a better, more prosperous union. So we could make America great again. It's not all about you. It's not all about MAGA. It's about the American people. Do what's right. All right. I was Clint Eastwood for a minute. Anywho, I'm going to jump off here, but I'm going to show you guys something real quick. This right here, this is a book my buddy wrote. It's called In Pursuit of Change. He's not paying me for this. I just thought about it. In Pursuit of Change. You can find it at Barnes & Noble. You can find it on Amazon, bookstores around you. Go check it out. It's a fun story that he created. He's hilarious. Let me tell you, this is a fun book. You got a bald chick on here. Well, boom, bald chick. That's my buddy Waylon right there. That's actually me there on the cover. He didn't pay me for the cover either. I didn't get any money for this. I don't take money except for when I go to work, just like a pastor should. But we'll talk about tithings another day. Thanks for watching Truman's Town Hall. We'll come back next week. I need to get back into this, but I also need to get back into the Word really, really good. 8:45 p.m. Sundays, we usually do a Bible study. I haven't been on for a while because the summer's kicking my butt. Anywho, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching now. Thanks for watching later. We'll talk to you next time.